Hi there, Karen Flaherty from Living by Human Design. Hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to be talking about the gate 44, which is typically called the gate of alertness. Okay, so we have the gate 44. It started on early on October 31st, and the 44 comes off the top of the spleen right here, and it goes until midday on November 5th. And then we've got the Earth in gate 24, which comes up here, and because we've got the 24 defined all week, and we also have the 61, which is in Pluto, it forms a channel. And so all week we're going to have the defined ajna and the defined head at the top, and then the ajna in green. And so we start the week with that definition in the 6124. It's called the channel of awareness. It's basically all about holistic thinking versus the logical on the right and the abstract on the left. And so this is more holistic thinking. And so hopefully that'll feel good to a lot of people. We do have some planets that are still retrograde, including now we just added Mars, Jupiter, the nodes, Uranus and Neptune have already been retrograde. So we've got this alertness, gate 44, coming to meet, or alertness in the original I Ching. And so it's the success of any interaction that's based on the absence of any preconditions. And so this literally, it's part of the business circuit, and it's about meeting people. It's literally about meeting people, but it's usually about meeting people in business sense. Now, it can be really in any sense, in any kind of relationship, but mostly it's in the business sense. So it's meeting it's meeting new clients, it's meeting new vendors, it's meeting new employees, it's meeting new bosses, it's any of that. And then being able to pick out which ones you actually want. Whether you're the employee or the boss, you still get to pick each other, right? And so this is what it's all about. It's being able to come together in a way that makes sense. And in the Gene Keys, as we'll see in a minute, Richard Rudd calls these the fractals, and other people call them the fractals as well. It's like there's all these people that we're supposed to meet in our environment, in the world, on the planet, and we somehow find each other, right? And so that's what this gate is all about. It's about coming to meet. It's about having the alertness to find the right people in your world that you're supposed to meet. And in the incarnation crosses this week, it's the cross of the four ways, alertness, and the incarnation. And the gate 24 is all about rationalization, or the return in the original I Ching. And this is the natural and spontaneous process of transformation and renewal. So it's rationalizing basically what's going on so that you can come up with something new, right? So that you can, you can look at it a different way, have a different perspective about it, and then perhaps act in a different way as well. In the Gene Keys, addiction is the shadow, invention is the gift, and silence is the CD. So here's the Gene Key 44, and I love this picture because basically this is what a fractal looks like. This is if you look at this, it's basically the Fibonacci Code that is very prevalent in mathematics, and this is why we say that human design is also based on modern mathematics and this Fibonacci Code, which is all about continuation. It's about it's literally got a mathematical code to it, but the way these things all come together and keep just repeating and repeating and repeating, basically until infinity mostly. And so Richard says synarchy, which is this coming together, right, is the higher ordering principle upon which the entire universe is constructed. And if you look at microbial level, this repetition occurs throughout the natural world. It occurs in many, many different places. Like you'd be surprised at how many places it occurs and how many places it's actually kind of fun to find, whether it's in a daisy or, especially loads of flowers have the Fibonacci Code encircled especially in the middle of the flower, like in a daisy or the way a rose, right? Just, it's complete repetition. It just keeps going and going and going until you're in the very middle of it. It's really pretty cool to see all this. But it happens in animals, it happens in people, it happens in fish, it happens in, it happens in all kinds of parts of nature. Almost anything that's natural has repetition within it. And so we're all these fractals. We are these fractals that keep bumping into each other and finding our own fractals. And that's why some people feel really good to us and some people don't. And it's exactly that. It's just like, you're not your fractal. It's okay. And so you kind of don't have to take it personally anymore, because there's some people we're supposed to meet and have relationships with. And, I mean, there's there's a day and what is it? A day, a season, and a lifetime, that we're supposed to have certain relationships. And some of them are just like that. It can be very short lived, or it can be very long lived. So the shadow here is interference, the gift is teamwork, and the CD is synarchy, which is that, coming together in that repetitious fractal. So a repetitive fractal. So these are people whose genius is to read other people. These 44s will find the right people all the time. They have a gift for it. In fact, one of the things I want to do is look at some people who have been very good at finding really creative people and bringing them into their realm. Like, for example, the guy who's in charge of Saturday Night Live, Lorne Michael, right? A Lorne Michael. He just has an eye for creative people, right? You kind of can't dismiss it. A Jon Stewart, who has found so many different comedians over the years who have gone on to their own fame. It seems like it's a coincidence, but I suspect it's not. He also says, as the universe awakens, the interference is gradually cleared and the synarchy that lies beneath emerges. So the interference is, kind of whatever covers up this synarchy in the repetition that we see. Because if we didn't have the interference, if we didn't have the, fogginess or mistiness or cloudiness or whatever you want to call it that is between us and other people, you would probably see much more clearly. In other words, if we were just seeing energy, for example, in another person, and, 2 people or 3 people or a group of people, you'd probably see very similar energies. Or I should say, energies that interact really well together, not similar energies, not the same energies. Like if I found somebody who had the same, because this is unusual, but if I found somebody with exactly the same kind of, makeup I have, that wouldn't be attractive to me. And so what's attractive are the differences, what's attractive is what completes us and what adds to the energy that we already have. So it's those kinds of interactions that are the juiciest. Okay, so we've got a number of personalities born this week, everybody from Marie Antoinette to the actors David Schwimmer and Matthew McConaughey, Toni Collette, Burt Lancaster, the singer K.D. Lang, Puff Daddy, Dan Rather, and who I actually don't have on this list, and who I added to the list is Peter Jackson, and that's who we're going to take a look at today. So this is Peter Jackson. He was born October 31st of 1961, so he'll be 62, he'll be 61 this year. He's turning 61, and he was born in Wellington, New Zealand. He still lives there. He's a projector with a 6'3" profile, and he's the left angle cross of alignment. He's, if you don't know him, he's best known for his Lord of the Rings series. But he's been an actor, director, scriptwriter, including most recently the documentary on the Beatles called Get Back, where he took 57 hours of raw footage after 50 years in a vault, basically, and condensed it into 8 hours over 3 different little movies, basically, that he made into a series, a documentary series that was on Disney, I think. And so he's best known as the director, writer, and producer of the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy. And he's won awards after awards for that. He's, okay, and I just realized that he's actually got the Gate 28, which was last week's. And he's probably right on the cusp. And so I had him as October 31st, and that was cutting it a little too close, apparently, because it's in the 6, and he is the cross of alignment, which was last week's. But he's still a fascinating character, and I'll just tell you a little bit about his chart. I apologize. These things happen in the cross of alignment with that Gate 28 right up there in his conscious sun. So it is the gate of struggle. The only channel he's got is this 1949, which is right down here, which makes him an emotional projector. And he's got the root defined, and he's got everything else open. So that's part of the reason I thought this was an interesting chart, but I forgot to look at the conscious sun. So Everything else is open. And so it makes him a very sensitive person. I'll say that because he's got this 19. It's all about sensitivity. And then it's connected to the 49, which is all about principles or revolution. And he does have the gate 30, which is the gate of intensity. So put that all together, and he's somebody who's taking in a lot of energy from other people. For him to work as he does, to write, to direct, to produce, is much better for him, project to project to project, and taking a few years between the projects, because he is now 61 and he's been, doing this since his 20s. He's got a huge filmography, basically, of all the stuff he's done. He's done a lot, but he takes his time between the projects, right, to do the next, until he does the next project. And so it's very intense when he's on the project, and then he gets to take a break. It's intense, and then he takes a break. And that's exactly what projectors should do. He's a brilliant guy, obviously. He's done so much. He's got a great sense of humor. I saw him recently on some interviews, especially around the Get Back documentary that came out. And he's just funny to listen to. He's a little impish. He almost looks like he could be one of the characters in Lord of the Rings. And actually, he did play some parts in those trilogies. So he's funny. He's got that New Zealand accent, and he's just really very inspiring to listen to, as well as funny. He does have that gate 44, so I will talk about that for a second. Now, he has it down here in his Neptune, which makes it a little more appropriate. It's his spiritual purpose. It's his spiritual job, basically, to find the right people. And I think we can all agree, if he's won so many awards between Oscars and the BAFTA awards for the British acting, he's won awards from Australia, some Emmys as well. I think for Get Back, he won quite a few Emmys, and for other things. He's been very active, very creative, very, takes his work seriously, but he's also into artificial intelligence. And he had a company that he recently sold in 2021 for $1.5 billion. So his AI company that was supposed to be part of Microsoft was actually just sold, and he's now a billionaire. So he did pretty good as a projector with all this openness, because he could read people really well. He had that wisdom, and he had this 44 twice in his chart, where he's finding the right people, right? Finding the actors, finding the producers, finding the directors. In fact, the funny thing is, he found himself for many of these. He's the writer, producer, and director on many of his films. And so he's, taking the alertness seriously in terms of finding people, but he finds the people to work with. And most of them say, from what I read, that it's a joy to work with him. Like, he really isn't, kind of an impish, almost like a little leprechaun type personality. And they really do have a good time working with him. He does have that, also the love of humanity here in the 15, 31. He's got the influence. So when he does speak, he's heard. He's got the 62, so he's great at the details. He does have the a few gates up here, which allow him to have some possible answers. He's a holistic thinker with the 61, mindset or epiphanies with the 47, and then breakthroughs with the 43. So he will come up with a lot of great ideas, and he's also intuitive. He's responsible. He's committed with the 29, aloneness, which kind of comes with the territory, right? Being a writer and director and producer. He's on his own quite a bit. 32, he's good at business. 28, he's got that struggle in his conscious sun. And that's about it. He does not have a lot of definition in that chart, but he's got this 1949, which makes him both sensitive and committed to his principles. And he has found something that he's really good at, and he's done it. He's done it quite a bit. And he was one of the first people with his AI foray into AI. He was one of the first people to use those technologies in films. Also in his Chiron, he's got the gate 55, which is all about spiritual abundance. And he doesn't have it in his chart, but just the way he lives his life, the way he's so creative, the way he helps people and employs people and makes entertainment for people. I would say he's living out the spiritual abundance as well. So that's Peter Jackson. Happy birthday, Peter. And I hope
that you have a great week. This week will be about meeting people, perhaps, this gate of alertness, meeting people, finding the right people, being able to kind of pick them out of a lineup, if you will, whether you're hiring or, looking for a partner in a creative project or anything like that, anything related to business. It's a good week to be looking for people. So I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next time. Be well.